fact, the Elamites were Indo-Europeans that migrated from above the Black Sea over into that area and supplanted the people who were living there and became the Persians and the Medes.
Absolutely.
And so they are not Ishmaelites, and they are very intelligent. They have been led astray by this evil god of theirs.
One word, yesterday, February 11th, we mentioned was the 31st anniversary of the Islamic Revolution in Iran. And JR, from that day to this, from 1979 to the present, there have been really two classes of people in Iran or Persia. There's the intelligentsia, trained, educated mostly in the schools of higher learning in the United States. There are the religious faction, who basically have never left the country, and they would like to return it back to the 9th century if they could. So you have two clashing cultures in Iran. The people in control of the bomb, unfortunately, are religious zealots, the army of the Mahdi. They call themselves the Twelvers. They hearken back to the belief that the Mahdi will come. In fact, that he disappeared and he will soon return.
And so we've got this standoff situation over there in the Middle East. Our nation, our government, not doing anything about it, downplays the whole thing. And who knows, maybe rightly so, but Israel is worried. And we need to be worried for them and praying for them. The Hezbollah still rattling their sabers. It's possible they will start a war sometime this spring or summer.
The Hezbollah, deeply dug in southern Lebanon, just north of Israel, threatening to invade northern Israel all the way down to Haifa. And by the way, JR, the Hezbollah is backed by the Mahdi army of Iran.
Yes, they're clans of Iran and also of Syria. We learn here in verse 5 of Ezekiel 38 that Persia is confederate with Gomer and all his bands in the house of Targama and Ethiopia and Libya, all of them with Gog and Magog, as they come against Israel. After many days thou shalt be visited, in the latter years thou shalt come into the land, that is the Holy Land, that is brought back from the sword and gathered out of many peoples against the mountains of Israel, which have always been waste. But it is brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them. Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm. Thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land, thou and all thy bands and many people with thee. But when this happens, God will intervene. You know, Gary, there's a God in heaven, and he's watching over the whole affair.
Indeed. It has been wisely said that man proposes, but God disposes. Man makes his great plans. And then God says, fellows, it's time that I stepped in here. And when he does, history is jerked around. It's turned 90 degrees. It's turned on its head, and things happen to people. That's exactly what J.R. was referring to when he was reading Ezekiel 38, that great invasion.
Yes.
That invading force has every reason to believe that it's going to be victorious in the Middle East, and it is turned upside down.
We learn here that God says, I will plead against him with pestilence and with blood. I will rain upon him and upon his bands and upon many people that are with him an overflowing rain, great hailstones, fire, and brimstone. This is God's plan for Iran and for Russia, for Ethiopia, Libya, for all of the people, the armies who will be in that great invasion. It is coming. The Bible is clear that it will come. When will it come? Well, you just back up one chapter and it talks about the return of the Jews out of all nations, and the hills and the valleys are producing abundantly on behalf of the returning Jewish people. So, Gary, it looks like this prophecy is about to come to pass.
It does. Iran is working on advanced intercontinental ballistic missiles. They are working to increase the potency of their nuclear stockpile, and they are going to do it, make no mistake. and they are going to launch an invasion against Israel. They say it every day. Why should we not believe them?
Yeah. Well, want you to get our February edition of Prophecy in the News magazine. There are a lot of neat stories here. One is on the Mediterranean Union, another on an 800-year-old prophecy of Rabbi Judah ben Samuel, human sacrificing 2010 style going on in Uganda, Africa. Then we have Eschatology 101, Chapter 2, and also the internal strife in Israel. A lot of neat articles in this magazine. Why not get it today? You can call the phone number at the bottom of your screen, 1-800-475-1111, and order the magazine, the February 2010 edition. And it's $2.95. We'll pay the postage to send it to you. Put it on your credit card. We'll get it right out to you. And then you can get an idea of what we're doing all month long as we prepare for our television programs, our webcasts, and also our magazine. I would encourage you to subscribe for a year. If you will, you could get either 4 free books or 3 free videos. Ask the operator when you call, and they can tell you about the bonuses. Gary, any last word?
Well, JR, we've reached a crucial point in history. We try to keep abreast of every detail of development in global politics, particularly as it pertains to the Middle East. So stay with us because exciting things are happening. 2010 is going to be an interesting year.
Yes, especially this summer.
Oh, yes.
I'm J.R. Church. Have a great weekend. We'll see you again Monday with our analysis of the news.